Britons who've settled in the United States, you've had perhaps the most unusual life. You were born Gordon Langley Hall. You came to New York, you became a professional writer, and were accepted by Charleston society as Gordon. But then you fell in love with your cook's black boyfriend.
This is about Dawn, a Charleston legend. This was fascinating to me. This person went through so much in their life. I mean, not only to be a transsexual who had the surgery, I think in 1968, which is fascinating to me because I think it just feels like it's just started recently that people started doing this, but really, I mean, the Danish Girl movie, that enlightened me as far as how far back this actually goes as far as the transsexual community. Not only is she a transsexual in the 60s, but also was the first mixed marriage in, I believe, South Carolina's history. And then also a prolific, pretty well-known writer as a man. So to have all of those things going on in that era is quite amazing to me. It takes a really strong person to go through all of that and to know that that's exactly what you want. Because it couldn't have been anywhere near easy for this person to go through. I mean, just being in a mixed marriage, a first mixed marriage in the South, that alone is a huge thing. And then to also be a transsexual, God, there's just so much. I mean, this person's fascinating and inspiring and just really strong person. I mean, the line that I heard that stuck out to me the most is the terrible consequence of my birth, you know, which she's saying she was born a female, but the terrible consequence was in the physical world. She was male. So just kind of crazy. I like that, the line, the dawn of a new day. I forgot who said that, if it was her husband. Just amazing to me too, that she did this at 46 years old, became a woman. So just really cool. I mean, honestly, the music was nice, the editing was nice, everything about the presentation and the production value was really great. I was just honestly focused on the story, and I did like that we heard some from the family, the daughter and the sister-in-law, and actually saw an interview with her as well. That all was really great. Honestly, I just was so focused on the story, I didn't even think too much about the rest of it. I think because all the important components were there. So just really good job to everybody, and good luck out there with it. I hope it gets seen by a lot of people.
Alright, I just finished watching Dawn, which I thought was a really fascinating piece around a central figure that really lived a life that is quite extraordinary. There's the time period in which they were a prolific writer as a man. There's a dynamic in which they had a gender reassignment surgery to turn to a trans woman later in their life, in I believe the early 60s or the late 60s, which reflects just how long ago they were pursuing this at a time in which the cultural norms around this were quite stringent and were not nearly as open as now. Even today, it's still a contentious issue. I thought she also had a mixed race marriage at a time in which that was abnormal, and it just reflected a sense of rebelliousness and a sense of strength that I thought really created a compelling character portrait. And I thought the piece was really respectful and sort of humanizing this dynamic, and sort of creating an entry point for a general audience to really empathize with the lead and understand just how extraordinary their life was. I thought there were a lot of lessons in there in terms of being yourself, in terms of not feeling pressure from society to not feeling pressure from society to be a version of yourself that you're not comfortable with, and really having a self-assuredness that really was quite admirable, and created a piece that was quite inspirational. So I thought it was well done, clearly well researched, and well crafted in terms of cinematography and sound design, in creating a very cohesive documentary experience. And I thought that it was just created with a sense of passion that really made it endearing to me in particular, and I feel like that's why I ended up enjoying it so much.
Dawn. Dawning is a touching and moving adventure during the 20th century. We see the life of this great writer, a writer that actually wrote in countless of important biographies, even for great great people during the 20th century, like for example Jackie Kennedy, and we see the how difficult was talking about this subject back in the day, just transitioning from the sex given a birth, man in this case, to woman, and then at the same time marrying a black person, and this is the thing that made history. Was one of the first interracial weddings allowed in USA. It seems so crazy to think that you couldn't marry someone just because of the different color of the skin, and that happened just 55 years ago. I mean, the world has really changed, and has really developed in luckily in a better way than people used to be in the last century. People used to live. But I think the overall genre, the documentary is beautiful, is well told. There is a fantastic there's a fantastic usage of B-roll and stock images from the past, from the Dawn's youth and how she grew up, and all the passage she made from UK to America, until throughout her whole life. So I think it was a very well shot documentary with a powerful plot, and also an even more powerful overall tone that really touched me and got me thinking that back in the day life was way more difficult, and we should be grateful to live in this century in 2022 and be free to do and marry whoever we want. So great film, congratulations.
This is a truly remarkable life story, expertly told through the documentary format. I wasn't aware or didn't know anything about this individual, Dawn, but hearing her life story through this film, I was immediately very sympathetic and was just following along and really leaning into it, and just thoroughly interested to hear more. I thought it was really just fascinating, everything she went through, heartbreaking at times. A real life story like this, definitely it has all those ingredients of drama, romance, and all that stuff that an audience really enjoys. And this Dawn's story is, again, just told really well here. Just made it thoroughly enjoyable. So yeah, great work.
Dawn was a very phenomenal story, as in the time that Dawn lived her life, I'll put it this way. Even today, we still have issues when it comes to race and gender. But back in the day, views were definitely a lot more conservative. And so for Dawn to live the life that she did, she had to take a very big stand. And for that, I definitely think she's very brave. It breaks my heart that she had to deal with a lot of hardships a lot of unfortunate, horrible things that happened to her, and a lot of abuse, which was very unfortunate to hear. But she's a very strong woman, and this was an amazing story to hear.
Dawn, such an incredible story, so worth telling, so worth hearing, so worth learning about, and the way that it was told was so beautifully done. Obviously, a lot of research went into it, a lot of old videos, old interviews, old photos got pulled as much as possible to really, as much as you can, go through and show the actual story, like the real version of it. And I thought it was so beautiful. The interview at the beginning is so lovely, and I think the quote that is 100% is gonna stay with me was her saying, you know, a man that's worth lying down with is worth standing up for. And I think that in relationships, that's so beautiful, and it's such a beautiful sentiment that she was really willing to go through any amount of hoops. And then you get all the history of how major this relationship was, especially in that time frame, in that state. And her, like I said, her story is just so incredible, and the way that it was told was so beautiful and powerful, and it should be told. I loved it.